So we are here to play along with some fantastic folks. We have Dr. Elizabeth Childs, who is a professor and program head of our MA in Learning and Technology, and Lisa, one of our current students in the MA in Learning and Technology. A big thank you both for being here. To kick us off, why don't I pass the phone over to Elizabeth to tell us a little bit more about the Master of Arts in Learning and Technology.
Super. Thanks so much, Selena. And thanks everyone for joining in wherever you are or listening to the recording. We really appreciate you making the time for this today. We wanted to do a little something different instead of just a straight up presentation. But before we get into that, we'll just give you a quick sense of the Learning and Technology Masters. And so the master's degree also has embedded within it a graduate diploma of learning and technology, which are the first 6 courses of the master's degree. There is also a graduate diploma in technology enhanced learning and design. And so that diploma takes 3 of the Masters of Arts courses, and the other 3 are what you see down at the bottom, the graduate certificate in instructional design. So the programs have been created so that you can sort of test the waters on graduate certificate. And then if that really fuels your desire and your curiosity to learn more, you can then apply to go into a diploma or onto the master's, or you can start in at any place along the way. Selena, if we could have the next slide, that would be great. Oh, I was just going to mention, sorry, on this one. Well, I was going to mention Lisa, but on this one, there's a link in there, and maybe Lisa Marie, if you wouldn't mind popping it in the chat, to the Mallet program page. We, in the Learning and Technology program, 3 of the design principles that underpin the program are openness, networked learning, and the development of a digital mindset. And so as a result, all of the courses are open courses. You can go in and take a look at all of them. You can see the assignments, the activities, the readings, and most importantly, you can see student blogs and what they're doing and working on in the program. And so that's the link on the screen there. And we also have several that participate in the RU Mallet hashtag on Twitter. So you can get a sense of, what do people talk about in this program, or what are they curious about? Now we'll go to that slide of Lisa, who's also on camera and joining me in this MAD event today. And so Lisa is a current thesis student in the Masters of Learning and Technology, but she also wears many other hats. So Lisa, I'm wondering if you'd like to come on and introduce yourself quickly.
Sure, Elizabeth. So I'm Lisa Gadak, and I am a current student in the Malat program, which has been incredible. The Royal Roads statement of it's life-changing really is absolutely true, especially for this program. And Elizabeth mentioned fueling your desire to, be curious in this sort of aspect with learning and technology. And it's just been such a wonderful and rich experience. And there's so many things that are happening during this time in particular surrounding technology and learning that there's just so many directions that it can go in, and the cohort is so diverse that it's just been an incredible experience, and I can't say enough about it. So that being said, I do wear a few hats, but I primarily, my main position is a learning and technologies strategist at a post-secondary institution in British Columbia. I also am an appreciative inquiry facilitator, and I work with teams, individuals, and organizations to help them grow in a strength-based way. So a couple of things I do. And of course, I'm right now writing my thesis for the program, which is incredible. The research that I've done has been so rewarding, and I'm sure I'll speak to it a little bit today as well. So thanks for that, Elizabeth.
Super. Thanks, Lisa. So what we were hoping to do was spend some time doing a version of PowerPoint Improv. And so what I've asked Lisa to do is find 3 images that we're going to go back and forth. She'll show one and I'll speak, I'll show one and she'll speak. But 3 images to her that sort of captured sort of the program or the essence of the program. I've not seen these images. I have no idea. She has not seen the ones that I have chosen. She has no idea. And we're going to, when we get the image, we're then going to speak and see how it resonates and speak for maybe 2 or 3 minutes about what the image conjures up for us around aspects of the program. So as you're hearing all of that, if you have questions, please just put them in the chat. That'll be great. And Lisa, I forget, we organized who was going first. I can't remember. Are you going first?
I think rock, paper, scissors said that I went first.
Excellent.
So
Okay, so I'm ready for your first image if you want to share your screen.
sure. Oh, it's actually saying it's disabled.
Oh, Selena can help us with that.
Yeah,
One
sure.
second.
Let's get you the
No
right
problem.
permissions to do that. And
Perfect.
good to go, Lisa.
Okay, great. Let me see if I can find it easily here.
Oh, the suspense is killing me.
The suspense is killing you. Okay, so this is just a placement slide. This is not the actual first image. I didn't know, it's talk about technology and little caveats with technology in these spaces. I mean, we've all had meetings and you're not quite sure about the sharing permissions and what's going to come up. So to be safe and to keep it mysterious for you, I just put this as a placeholder. So are you ready for it?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, here's my first image.
Oh, wow. That's an exciting one. So when I see that image and I think of the students that come into the master's or the diploma programs or the graduate certificate, the first thing that resonates to me is the desire to see beyond, to be curious about what might be out there beyond the horizon that's in view. And then also needing a way to kind of to hone in that vision and looking, lots of people come to the program looking for, they're not really dipped into research in this area. And so they have a lot of their own experience that they bring. They have a lot of experience perhaps doing some of this work, but they don't feel like they have the backing of what else has happened in the literature. And so that sort of, that ocular piece to me is sort of the, okay, let's look in, let's dive in really deep into what the research is saying, what the literature is saying, and then let's be able to zoom out and look beyond the horizon and see where we can take that. I think the other piece this image says to me is there's a little, it looks like there's a dock or something sort of on the edge in the bottom left. And so I think for me, that resonates to that sort of grounding, right? And the need to really ground as you look out beyond the horizon, as you hone into different research and literature that might be applicable, to be able to ground that in your reality, in your context, and in your work. And I think for me, that's one of the things that Royal Roads in general, through its teaching, learning, and research model, but certainly in Mallet, that we really work hard to do, is make sure that those activities and assessments that you're doing in the courses are practical. They draw on real life examples, or they are embedded in your real life context. You have that flexibility to take what you are learning and use it right away in your setting. And so to me, that little dock piece is sort of the connection to the land, right? The connection to being able to ground this in your current reality. I do like that there's a little bit of, ripple on the water. It's not perfectly glassy calm. And I think that would be, my connection to that and the programs would be that, yeah, it's there's a little bit of unknown in all of this. And so be able to be open to be that beginner, to be willing to hold space and make space in your life for this thing you're now doing, the master's degree or the diploma or the certificate, because there's a little bit of uncertainty, right? Will this take a little more time? Will I get into, a big wave and I just plunge in and learn more about what's underneath? And so I think I like that the picture doesn't have sort of that beautiful calm water, because I flow, and you will have sort of the rise, and then you'll have sort of that thinking, frustrating space of trying to knit together all of the new experiences and the new readings and discussions that you're having with people in your cohort with what you know, and making sense of that new knowledge. And so I think when I look at the rocky waves, I see that. I think I'll stop there, Lisa.
Okay, that's great. Really, you certainly encapsulated a lot of the things that I was thinking when I first saw this image. But one thing too that I really think is, just to add quickly, is underneath the surface of the water, there's just so much that's happening, and you don't always necessarily see it at the time, but it becomes such a great, rich area to explore, and then suddenly things become clear when the waters are calm. So I'd add that.
Absolutely. And I just saw in the chat, someone's asking about how these might enhance their opportunities to work internationally. And I think, it's really interesting in these programs, the area is cross-sectoral. It's not just K to 12. It's not just higher ed. It's not just corporate training. We have people in these programs that are from all of those sectors, and healthcare and finance and not-for-profits and independent consultants. And so the transferability is around the competencies you take away with respect to learning and the affordances of technology and where those intersections can be, and your ability to transfer that forward. I don't know, Lisa, if you would also want to comment on that.
Yeah,
question.
and honestly, the multidisciplinary nature of the program is such a benefit. Like the multiple perspectives that you actually benefit from with your peers is just incredible. So and I definitely have peers that are working in many contexts and internationally, certainly, not limited to education, as Elizabeth said. So very rich group of peers that end up attracted to a program like this.
All right, are you ready for yours, Lisa?
Sure. Okay. We're going back and forth. I think, do I need to stop sharing
if
first?
you stop sharing.
Okay. No, it doesn't want to let me stop sharing. Why?
It just loves the image so much.
I guess it loves the image so much that it just doesn't want me. Maybe if you just try to share, is it going to let you?
Oh, yes.
There we go. Okay.
All right. Hang on. Let me see you do this so seamlessly. And I have 7 things going on. So.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, I'll close my eyes just in case.
All right. There you go.
Okay. Wow. This to me seems so you. Now, of course, Elizabeth, culinary, I think, the herbs, the being so fresh. Let me really think about this. This is an interesting picture for sure. I love the pop of green that's in there. I think for me, it's ingredients. And so I look at it and I think about, what can I make with this? And somebody talking about, can I use it internationally, or what context maybe that this is in? It really is interesting, because probably with these, and it looks like we've got some chives and we've got some, oregano and some dill and some other herbs there. You could probably, flavors, as Terry says. I think that's cool. I think you could probably make a variety of dishes with this. And the program is very much that way. And I think that it also is very fluid. As I introduced myself at the beginning of this, I do have sort of multiple contexts that I work in, and the applicability of these things as tools in my tool belt to shift and change from a stew to a soup is pretty incredible. So I think I look at this as ingredients for success, and how that looks for you. Yeah, what is the perfect recipe, Lisa? I like that, for success. And I think it's different for everyone, and I think it changes along the journey. But there are many great stews and soups that you can make using these multiple ingredients in the program. It makes me think of a recipe.
That's wonderful. And one of the things I was thinking, well, 2 things I was thinking, when I was pondering this picture was how, in and of themselves, those different herbs and ingredients are so rich and flavorful. And to me, that connects to, each of our learners that come to the program. There's such a wealth of experience that people bring to the program. And then when you knit that experience together and make a soup or make a stew or combine it in different ways, it's through that combination that you get this very rich, in this metaphor, tasty experience, in the mallet metaphor, really rich learning and really rich, deep connections. And the other piece for me that sort of came out of this picture, because I was actually initially looking for rhizomes, was the onions and the connection, right? And so we talk a lot about networked learning as part of the program. There's not a course on it. It's just sort of embedded throughout. And every student has a blog, and you're responsible for figuring out your digital identity and presence. Who do you want to be as a graduate learner in this space? And how do you want to contribute to this larger network, this larger community, who are learning and working and giving back in these spaces? And so the onions were my attempt at rhizomatic learning, Lisa, but now that
I like the
what would
rhizomatic
you
learning,
say?
but you know, that actually made me think of how recipes are often passed down generationally, and there's, you know, a lot of love in those recipes and a lot of knowledge in those recipes and a lot of things that have been tried and tested until they've been perfected. And learning technology is cyclic, and it's a little bit like that. And I think that for the program and entering the program, there are some, you know, experts obviously that have already been here before us, and so the recipes that are passed down are tried and true. And, you know, there's a lot of things that we can follow. We're just not on our own trying to concoct something out of these ingredients at the same time. It's been passed down, and there's a lot of knowledge that's passed down with that.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, I'm ready for the next one. I'll stop
Okay.
sharing.
All right. And here we go. Okay. And your next one is.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, to me, this one just speaks of the possibilities, of the potential, of that seemingly very discordant structure and the stormy sky in the background sort of looks like it's in the middle of nowhere, and very isolating, you know, on its own. But to me, it's just ripe for possibilities. What could possibly become of this as it transforms into something different? I mean, even if different is that it falls over, and something is built up from there. And so I think, and you had mentioned it in the other slide conversation that started, but this notion of evolving your learning through the program, and that life-changingness piece of it, right? So a lot of people come to a master's or to graduate level work, in some ways looking for that validation that what they've been doing in their work has been an accurate path. Some people come looking for, okay, where can I extend it? Or I've been trying to solve this problem and I just can't, and I need more information. I need to dive in more. I think for me, this also speaks of, you know, the blueprint, right? And that what is the frame and the structure for the house? And so I think any graduate program, and certainly what the Mallet program and diplomas and certificates attempt to endeavor, is providing that frame, right? Curating the resources, creating the container and the invitation for you as a learner to then come in, make it your own, take out that window that's leaning, or just take the whole house down and start again. And that makes me think of one of our students, who is an electrical trades instructor. And after his third course in the program, he actually, and he says this publicly on his blog, so I think it's fair to share, he went back to his curriculum that he does with electrical trades, and he'd been doing it for years. And so he, you know, he knew what was happening the next day. He had his lessons plans. He had all of that stuff based on a textbook, and he threw it out. He deleted it all. And he started co-creating a textbook for electrical trades year 1 and 2 with his students. And he made that an open educational resource, and went through and ended up doing the thesis route in his master's around investigating student engagement when you could co-create your textbook with your instructor, and with the realities of the day. Because the challenge in trades training is often, and in other disciplines too, often the textbook lags behind where the field has actually gone to, and the standards are actually evolving too. And so students have to wrestle with that tension. And so he ended up going on and now and has really embraced open educational resources and open educational pedagogy in his work, and has gone on and is now working at a dean level at an institution around trades training. Yes, Selena, it is. And so we can pop his blog link in the chat in a bit. So if any of you are in that sector, that you might want to follow up. But that's, you know, I saw this, I'm like, oh, that reminds me of Chad for sure. I think
It's funny because the multidisciplinary nature of the program, it also includes the alumni. So I have been just thrilled at the support that I've received, where people have actually reached out to me, you know, on Twitter or by email, to support me on this journey. And I've made some connections with people that are, you know, have already done the program, which has been really interesting.
Yeah, I think the other thing that this speaks to me a little bit, when I think of connecting it back to the program, is pruning. And just, sometimes we get in the work, we get in our weeds, right? And we just can't see those lovely trees, and we can't see the possibilities or potential because there's just too many brambles in the way.
Mhm.
And I think one of the things that I hear, certainly from our faculty, because they're practitioners, they're, that scholar practitioner model that Royal Roads really thrives and builds around. They do this work in the field and they teach in the field. And so they often speak to how they can really work with either the course design, the activity invitations, the conversations with students to help people prune out some of those weeds in their thinking, or to see where those connections actually are a symbiotic relationship and they just flourish because you can then deepen the connection that's being made. So I think that would be the other thing that I would point to this picture when I think of that connection back to our programs.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Lisa. What were you thinking when you came up with this?
For me, it was a lot about weeds, about seeing sort of this kind of chaotic environment in the middle of nowhere, but the potential, the absolute potential that's in there and what's in there if we dig it apart. I also like the acronym of FAIL, for first attempt in learning. And I think, sometimes we actually look at something like this and just think, oh, it's had its day. But in reality, in the right hands, this would be, something gorgeous and possibly unprecedented, that people would be able to stop and look. So I think sometimes in the weeds, there are gems that we just might not see in that moment, that, you start to get into the research and really dig in, and go, hey, there's something here. So yeah, FAIL, one of my favorite ones, Selena.
All right, close your eyes. I'll
Okay.
I'll share this one. Oh, hang on.
No worries. You tell me when.
All right, you may open your eyes.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, it is a beautiful, I don't know if it's a carpet or a tapestry for the wall. Is it on the grid? It's a bit of an optic illusion the way that it is. To me, it is. It's a tapestry, and it's, woven together in, the patterns that are woven together are, separate, but then they connect in a real sort of way when you look at it. And I think that, when you think about the multiple perspectives of students that are coming into the program, they all contribute, to this beautiful tapestry of work that's happening. And that carpet or tapestry does keep growing when I think of the Chad Flynn's of the world who extend themselves to current students and, the alumni. So I really do think that it is, very much connected. It's a process. I mean, the tapestry, didn't always start out as a beautiful tapestry. It started out by one stitch or one thread, coming together. And so basing this beautiful piece of work, knowing that it started with one stitch or one thread or one piece of wool, that has come from somewhere else, and it's a larger contribution to the technology, world of learning and technology, and the students. So I see it as very much a collaborative piece that is iterative, and it's going to continue to build until it's a large enough blanket to cover the world.
I love it. I love it. And yeah, I mean, I was totally thinking that, and that connection with community, right? Like individually, there are these strands, but together, they've made something more than an individual. I was just checking in the chat, and someone was asking about, admission requirements and that sort of thing. And I think the other thing that this piece demonstrates is that people come from all over. So this is not a master's degree that then allows you to teach in K-12. It's not that type of master's. If that's, if you're looking for a K-12 master's degree, then that's, you have to have a bachelor's in K-12 in Canada, and there's a different program in that way. Having said that, we do have lots of K-12 educators that take the program because they're really interested in that connection between what we know about learning and what we know about technology, and how are they interwoven? And when do you emphasize one over the other, or when do you blend them? How do you blend them? So this tapestry, speaks to a bit of that as well. And
yes,
the other thing it sort of shares, just connecting to that question, is that these threads come from all over, right? And so one of the things at Royal Roads is the flexible admissions. So there's a standard admission or flexible admission, and the flexible admission has an opportunity for you, if you perhaps have not had a formal post-secondary experience or an experience of post-secondary that's formal but from a different country, there's different ways that that can be included in what you bring and your expertise in your application. And so, you know, your application process in the program knits together these things. And then in the program, when you're connected with all these cross-sectoral learners, you really create this really deep and rich tapestry.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay. It's probably going to share again from the beginning, I'm assuming. Since yes, it's done that. So let's just get to it. Okay, here it is.
Ooh, well, isn't that exciting? So this one I think is a great image when I think of someone embarking. I think of myself, you know, when I was embarking on thinking about graduate work, when I've worked with so many students who are at that beginning decision point of, oh, I don't know if this is for me, because it's really hazy. You know, there's this mystery about what it is to do graduate work, whether it's a certificate, diploma, or a master's degree. There's an unknown, and often people say at the other end, they say, oh, if I'd known, I never would have done it, because it's something so different than what they thought. It's not from the magnitude of work, it's more from the, wow, at the beginning I wouldn't have had the resilience to say, yes, that's what I want. However, many people say at the end, I am so glad I did it, because it's so different than what I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
And so this little plant that's trying so hard, and its little buddy over here on the left, you know, that world that they've emerged from the dirt into is so different perhaps than what they thought. But with the air, with water, with nutrients, they will thrive and survive and go even beyond that. And I think that's where we see lots of our learners, where that initial starting point seems a little bit hazy and a little bit uncertain.
Mm-hmm.
And then as they get that strength behind them of the community of learners, of their understanding and depth as they get into the research, into the field, as they do their work that connects directly to their work environment and allows it to, you know, they can take what they're learning immediately and use it in their work setting, they start to really thrive and flourish.
For me, I saw it as growth in unexpected places. So along this journey in the program, there have been so many unexpected, amazing sort of growth things that happen, experiences that happen along the way that allow you to reflect and realize that there has been growth in areas you may not have expected. And the ecosystem will sustain you as you go along the way and help you in that growth. So that's what I saw, unexpected growth.
I love that. And you know, it also just, it's such a nice, that little, there's so many little offshoots on that plant that's coming out of, and you know, at first blush, you think, oh, is it going to survive? Is it not? But then you see all that little greenery and you think, oh yeah, this plant's fine. It's going to dive in. And I think often, you know, generally our learners in this program are sort of mid-career learners. And so they've hit their stride and they want to then take it to the next step, or deeper or broader, or in some cases change their career completely. And so that willingness to have the resilience and to be, you know, those leaves are stretched, they're open, they're looking for what's out there that's going to help sustain them and they can tap into. So that's lovely, Lisa. Thank you. All right, let me see here.
Oh,
Okay,
I'll close my
your
eyes again. Yeah.
Close your eyes. Let me get it to the right one.
It's so fun to have some improv in the middle of the day.
Well, that's, you know, that's what I thought. Hang on. I got my, I know. Keep it. Wait,
it's okay.
We're almost there. Almost there. Here we come. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
But now I've lost you.
Okay. I'll hang on. I'll close my eyes again, just in case.
Oh, haha. Okay. I'm ready, but I hit the wrong button.
Okay.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Oh, I'll close my eyes just in case.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay.
You can go now.
Okay. Oh, well, first of all, this is one of my favorite things to do as a child in Ontario, was to pick these up and blow them into the wind and put my wishes on the wind, which I'm sure many people did with these little special growths. Wow. And that is exactly what it is. all of this stuff going out into the wind, into the world, spreading it, and becoming a larger part of, back to that tapestry. But really, all of these are coming from one flower, but then they separate and they go and they pollinate all over. And little, like, I think about those rhizomes again, suddenly, spreading throughout, and people learning from one another wherever they plant themselves. And it can be internationally, it can be anywhere the wind could take these, which can be in many, many different directions. I think that they're delicate as well. And so it's, there's definitely care and consideration when you go into a space of learning like this and devote, a large chunk of time to these studies, that they will continue beyond, and they will, what you have learned and what you can share with the world will actually benefit the world in places that maybe you don't even know where they'll land.
Lovely. Yeah, that's, when I was thinking of this, I was like just that sense of contribution, right? And giving back and contributing back your learnings, and then the possibilities of where will this take you? Where will it go? And you just never know. But it opens doors that you don't even know are doors that can be open yet. And we hear that a lot from our students. And so for me, this picture really was about that potential and possibility. And also what you mentioned, Lisa, around, you've got this safe community that you're learning with and from, and then you're released. And yet you still stay connected, right? So we have lots of alumni, lots of students who are very connected in their community. We had one group, many years ago now, that they had their Slack back channel, and there were thousands of messages over the years, the 2 years of their program, in this back channel, and they still stay connected through this channel. I mean, you meet lifelong friends in the program, and your network is expanded exponentially through it. Well, thank you, Lisa, for being willing to do the improv.
Yeah, it was fun.
We'll maybe just stop here and open the floor to questions or comments. I love that. I'm just scanning the chat right now. Thank you, Lisa Marie, for putting all those great links in there. While people are thinking of their questions or typing them in the chat, there is a link to the virtual symposium further up in the chat, and it happens every year in April. And it is a great way to get a sense of the program. It's open, there's no cost for it. There's recordings from the past 5 years of all the speakers, and there's 3 tracks to it. There's an expert track, which are people in the space, the various spaces that speak to aspects of learning and technology. There's a stories from the field track, which are people who are doing the work, talking about the work that they do and talking about aspects of it. And then there's the sort of student presentation track, which is where you can really see what people do in the completion pathways in Mallet. So at the master's level, there's 3 completion pathways. You can do a traditional thesis, like Lisa's doing, where she's actually researching live human beings, or you can do an applied research project, where it's sort of kind of like a needs assessment meets a meta synthesis of the literature. And you can consult with up to 5 people in your setting, and you have a sponsor. Or you can do a digital learning research consulting project, which is the creation of something. You work with your sponsor. It's not a paid consulting project. You're working with your sponsor around a need that they have. And so in that virtual symposium, you can see all of the presentations from past students on each of those completion pathways, because often people have a variety of myths associated with graduate level learning. And so it's really nice to be able to dive in and take a look at what people actually did as they were working through their masters. So Lisa, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit to...
Well, yeah, and I wanted to actually, it made me think of, you talk about prior learning assessment and flexible options for coming into the program, that it can feel overwhelming sometimes. And just to know that there is so much support at Royal Roads, like it has been incredible. The supports that are available to help you along the way. Trust me, academic writing was not my forte when I came into this program. And I am doing the thesis track, which obviously there is a lot of, and there's a lot of academic writing of course, throughout the program, which you are fully supported with in getting going on that journey. And it's been just an incredible learning experience. But don't have that fear or hesitation to come into the program thinking that it may be too challenging for you to do, depending on your background or where you're coming from, because the supports are there. And it really has been incredible. Not just the peer support, but the institutional supports that are available as well have been incredible. So I would encourage anyone to invest, check it out. Everything is open, as Elizabeth said, so have a look at some of the great stuff that's there, the symposium, but also the courses. And if you're curious and you've got already some curiosities building when you read that stuff, then you're heading in the right place.
That's a great, I mean, we talk about that a lot, about, really success at a graduate level is about being curious.
Mhm.
It's not about looking for a recipe of how to do something. It's about really wanting to dive in and learn more, and having that sort of agency and internal motivation to really be curious. And it might be around a particular area, or it might be around a general area of learning and technology.
Mhm.
And so I was talking with a current student yesterday, actually, and talking about completion paths. And they're like, yeah, I'm not sure yet. And I said, that's totally fine. Some people come into a graduate program, they know exactly what they want to get out of it.
I was
Others
not
come
one of
in.
those people.
No.
So yeah, absolutely, to know that it's fine to not know and
Yeah.
to explore and be curious and then make that decision. You don't have to decide when you first start the program. You decide a little ways in, after you've really got your feet in the ground and you really have been introduced to a lot of the foundational components that you need to be successful in all of the different tracks.
Absolutely. And I'm just checking in the chat. There's a couple of questions. So examples of jobs that alumni end up with really range. Because it's cross-sectoral. So some people are already in a training development role. There may be a training manager or training coordinator in their organization, and that the master's allows them to apply for a more senior position. Other people that have switched completely from one sector to another. So for example, maybe they were a K-12 educator, and they have moved from that into corporate consulting, and they're consulting around training and learning and development. Other people, for example, I'm thinking of some nurse practitioners or paramedics that have taken the program. Part of their role has evolved into training their colleagues. And so they take the program because that's not their specialty. Their specialty is paramedicine. But they want to really learn about, what do we know about learning? What do we know about technology? And how can I use that to help how we're training our staff or our employees? So a really wide range. Some people take it that are in a teaching and learning center in a post-secondary institution. Some post-secondary college instructors take it because they would like to take their master's, again, kind of similar to the paramedic example. Their specialty, they're electrician, they're construction, they're whatever, and that's their instruction, that's what they do. But they haven't really been looking at how to teach in those learning environments that use technology, and many do in these ways. So really, really wide range there, I think. Lisa, do you have any, from
Yeah,
your
I mean, when you're talking, I'm thinking about my own cohort right now, and we
Mhm.
have military, education, hospitality, and hotel industry. Who else is in here? Computer programming, education. Really, it is a tapestry. There are so many different people with multiple perspectives, so many different industries, and they do sometimes ladder into other things. My research, for example, I do work in post-secondary, but my research focused on K-12 because I live in an island district that I was very curious about the delivery of education in that region. And so I had a moment of, okay, what am I doing? Why am I not, looking at post-secondary? This is my context. But I went with my passion and that curiosity, and it has led me to very different places than I anticipated.
This other question, I think, is a good one around people starting program like this in these turbulent times. And I think the thing that I would share that I hear from students time and time and time again, and it was even before we were in a pandemic, this is something big enough that you have to take something else off your plate in order to do it well. And you need to know that something doesn't have to stay off your plate forever, right? So the master's is 2 years. So it's a time limited decision to say, okay, I used to coach softball. I'm not going to do that for 2 years. Or I used to be able to volunteer here. I'm not going to do that for 2 years. Or I used to have, date night with my friends or my partner twice a week. I'm going to have to cut that down to once every 2 weeks, for example. So the biggest thing that I would share, that students share with me, is making time for this. This is adding another member to your family right now for this small period of time. And I mean, when you're in it, especially at the halfway mark, 2 years doesn't seem small, it doesn't seem short. But you will get through that piece. And where people have really been able to thrive is when they've been able to set aside time to do it, so that they're not always feeling guilty for not doing the readings, or, oh, I wish I could have dedicated more time to those team assignments or my individual assignment, where they're actually able to just embrace the learning. One of the things that works, I think, in the favor and helps make it happen in 2 years is you're taking one course at a time. This is not a semester system. You're not taking 3 courses at once in the fall term. You're taking one course for 9 weeks, then you have a week, and then you take another course for 9 weeks. What that does mean is you need to insert time in your life for those courses. Lisa, do you have any other tips that you would share?
Yeah, I would say to incorporate your support systems. And I've a grown child, but I definitely know from cohorts, from some peers in my cohort, that it can be challenging sometimes to consider that maybe somebody else can do that load of laundry, or somebody else can cook dinner tonight, and give yourself a little bit of that courtesy. For myself, I've actually sequestered. We have 2 places that we reside, and so I've left my husband at times to sequester so I could focus. And I really do think you have to devote that time to yourself and understand that some things may have to shift on your plate a little. But the best part about that is, when it happens, the unexpected result is you go, you know what, that's actually a pretty good change in life. And it's giving me a lot of joy to not do that thing, or to bring in that support team. So yeah, I think definitely those considerations, how you're going to maybe manage your time, and what could shift, so that you can devote your whole self to this experience. And it does, there is a point, of course, that you get to that you go, okay, this is big. It is 2 years, but it goes by quickly. It really does. I mean, I'm almost done the program, and I can't believe that I'm on the program, and neither can my peers. We have conversations regularly about how quickly this really has gone by, and how much we've cherished the journey along the way. So you definitely will have support there. I think that we're certainly not unique, that there is social network groups, and there's Slack channels, and there's all these other places where you can vent, discuss your struggles along the way, and get some real concrete support from people who understand what you're going through, and then to incorporate those peripheral supports of your family and friends is important.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. Selena, I know we're probably getting close to time here, so I'm going to turn this back to you in case there's any other bits and pieces you need to do. But thanks everyone for your questions. Don't hesitate to reach out. And Lisa, thank you for joining for this.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Lisa and Elizabeth. That was just such a fun way to learn about learning and technology at Royal Roads. To keep the fun going, we want to do a small giveaway for the folks who joined us and watched today's session. So what we're going to do is I'll invite everyone to get their fingertips on their keyboard. I'm going to ask a question. The first 2 people who pop an answer into the chat box will be our giveaway winners. Oh, Terry, sure. Carla, yes. Amazing. Okay, Terry and Carla, our very adventurous attendees, both of you have won a small giveaway prize. So one more big thank you for everyone who joined us for this session. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.